Everyone, we are inviting Moraig today, Moraig MacGillivray. She's the candidate for the NDP party here in Antigonish, running in Antigonish County. So we're just continuing on our interview series, putting out a little info about each of the candidates for our students. So I'll turn it over to you. Would you mind telling us just like a little bit about yourself, like maybe like some hobbies, hometown, family sort of stuff?
Sure. So my name is Moraig MacGillivray, as was said. So I was born here in Antigonish. I grew up in Truro and then came to St. Yves after high school. Spent 4 years here, of course, and then went abroad. I went to Korea and then to Spain. I was teaching English as a second language.
Nice.
It was a great opportunity to pay off student loans. Was able to do that in a few years, so that was great. And so after teaching English, I started writing textbooks, and I could do that from home.
Nice.
So that gave me the chance to live anywhere in the world. I could choose any place in the world, and somewhere along the line there, I met my husband, the guy who would become my husband, and we were starting to think about having kids. So I thought Antigonish was a great place to raise kids. So, and I could take my job with me, and so could he. He's a translator, so we can go to Antigonish. And as far as hobbies, I guess politics has been my hobby since since the kids were small. And so starting out, I was more on the organizing side, especially the 2015 election, which was I was really motivated to get rid of Stephen Harper.
Fair enough.
So I worked on that NDP campaign and really got to know kind of the team around here and really enjoyed working with them. So in 2017, they asked me to run, and I thought, why not?
That's perfect. Sounds like things just like really ended up working out.
Yeah.
Especially then that's super cool on the textbook writing front. Like that would have been a really like freeing job, like get to see the world.
Yeah.
And honestly, I totally agree with you. Like what a great place to end up living. Like I know for a lot of the students that we talk to here, and those that are out of province, even coming from like other places internationally, it's just a great place to be, and just a great life that people loved. Just a great town.
And so many people want to come back here, and most of the people I know, like from when I was in university, who have come back, they're entrepreneurs. That's how they were able to come back. So
it is, it's definitely one of those. Like everybody, like a lot of folks that I end up talking to, this is like the end location. Even if it's like coming back, like later in life, it ends up being the spot just because it is so beautiful, and everybody here is just seem awesome.
My parents too, because we grew up in Truro, because that's where they could find work.
Fair enough.
But ended up coming back and retiring here.
Once you can make it back and you've got the means, just like it is beautiful. We're wondering, like, what was it that really drove you into the world of politics? Like, what was that catalyst for you?
Well, just being sick of seeing like the same two parties with their connections, kind of helping out their friends. It's from being an outsider looking in, it was like people helping out their friends, and I didn't really see anybody looking out for people and for the climate. That's a big motivator for me. The climate is, we have to take action now, and we have to take serious action, not just talking points during an election. It has to be serious.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it's those levers of power. We can all use our reusable mugs and take short showers, but if we really want to see change, we have to be the ones pulling the levers of power so that we can get off of coal and do all those things, because individually we can make a bit of a difference, but if our electricity is destroying the planet, then there's not much we can do about that. We can't all go off grid. So
exactly. So just like kind of seeing that there's some issues that you definitely need to like start moving the needle on, unless there's somebody really willing to be moving that lever, then it might not be getting done.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been petitioning and protesting and all of these things, and there's still new fossil fuel projects. They're still talking about doing offshore drilling. Like, we have to stop right now. We had to stop 10 years ago, but we have to stop now since we haven't. So.
Well, and like that's a very valiant reason to get involved in something like that. Just seeing issues that you want to see change in a population that at the same time are voicing their concerns about it, and then being able to take that step yourself and being asked to take that role, that's incredible. So I think that's a great cause to get involved. So like seeming as like there's a number of key issues facing Nova Scotians and like also youth in particular. What issues do you see as the primary challenges that you and your party would like to confront in this?
So climate change, obviously, and it's hard to pick out pieces because everything's connected, right?
For sure.
So we saw in the pandemic we have a crisis in our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
So does that just mean more doctors? No, it means more long-term care beds, but it also means easing the strains on the hospitals and the long-term care centers
Mm-hmm.
by just being smarter about the way where we invest. So
Okay.
anyone I know wants to age in place. They don't want to go to long-term care. So
Mhm.
if we can provide the supports and train more people to support people in their homes, then that will ease the strain on the long-term care center, and that will ease the strains on their hospital. So we need to be talking to the people on the ground who understand what's going on, because politicians don't know what's going on,
Mhm.
but we need to be ready to listen to the people who do
Right.
and fix it that way. So yes, healthcare,
Yeah.
big thing. Housing is a huge thing. I hear it
For sure.
constantly on the doorsteps. So one good thing about the pandemic is we got rent control.
Mhm.
But that's going to be lifted as soon as the state of emergency is lifted, unless we elect the NDP. So that should be permanent, because that's causing really, like, nobody should be fearing huge increases in their rent.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's not sustainable. So we need to, so rent stabilization so that people enough people are living paycheck to paycheck as it is. So
Mhm.
if a rent increase can ruin you, right? So,
Yeah.
but it's not just rent control, it's also more housing stock. We need more houses, so, and more homes. So one idea is that the government would have right of first purchase. When a lot goes up for
Right.
sale, the government can buy it and convert it into affordable housing.
Mhm.
So we need different types of housing. We need co-ops, we need small options homes, we need to diversify the types of housing that are out there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely totally hear you on the healthcare and the housing side
Yeah.
of things, and it's definitely totally after you.
I don't want to miss education. I mean,
Yeah,
that's huge.
for sure.
Again, like we're talking about people having the opportunity to stay here, we need to have vibrant communities that create those opportunities.
Mhm.
So, and again, climate change, we want to bring
Yes.
green new jobs here. So those are more in the trades. So we want to have free tuition at NSCC for starters,
Okay,
eventually
nice.
getting to free tuition at universities. But these thousands of new jobs, we're going to bring people here, and that's going to create demands for services across the spectrum. So what are you studying?
So I study in public policy and governance here.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's been like there's a lot of kids like in our like CLEN program, which is like climate and energy,
Yeah. Mhm.
and like just like honestly across the board, like aquatic resources,
Yeah.
where you are constantly looking at the governance of water, the governance of
Yes.
natural resources, and really
Yeah.
looking at solutions to that problem. And also in PGov, a lot of what we do is
Yeah.
trying to look at those public policy solutions, recommendations that could possibly take an issue like that. Like I know a big subject of mine throughout my first 3 years here was affordable housing, and really looking at that from the realm of like seeing that rent control in those situations can provide that help. Supply is going to provide that help. So like hearing that as a student is definitely very uplifting,
Yeah.
because it is such an issue that we see time and time again that
Yeah.
really like it does end up playing into that affordability piece for
Yes,
us,
yeah.
which is kind of and so like obviously all the key issues, love to hear that. Affordability of education is one of the largest challenges like for the youth in the province today.
Yeah.
So we're just wondering, what are some of the ways in which like you and your party would work to ensure that those financial barriers aren't going to be the thing that's stopping us
Right.
from making it to the end of our education?
Yeah. So the first thing, right off the bat, we would make tuition free at NSCC, and we'd be working towards that goal in universities, is tuition free ultimately.
Wow.
But in the meantime, it'd be lower tuition, government providing more funding to universities directly, and also playing a role in making sure those funds are spent in a smart way, and that's not just going to the top admin, making better education, more accessible education.
For sure. That's definitely one thing that has been striking about this job, and like kind of taking a bit of a bigger look at it,
Yeah.
is seeing that operating budget for universities coming from the money that is coming from the government to universities
Yes.
coming at about 1% of their operating budget. It's
Yeah.
tough to get that incentive for things to come through, even when it is written in a memoranda of understanding or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So that's really refreshing to hear.
Yeah, right.
That's fantastic. So yeah, because cutting into that affordability and like on the side of tuition too, seeing those increases, it's definitely something that weighs on the minds of students a lot, and seeing that financial insecurity is also like a large piece of what plays into kind of the mental health statistics we've been able to see.
Yeah.
So it kind of brings me into like another section here. But yeah, that was one thing that we saw. So on the federal level, we had about 84% of post-secondary students saying that they'd either had a pre-existing mental health condition that had become exacerbated due to the pandemic, and or students saying that they had a new battle with mental health.
Right.
And like a lot of that does come from different sources. Definitely differs depending on the student, but it is definitely a pressing issue for the youth right now.
Yeah.
So like in your opinion, what are some of the ways in which government can ensure that the mental health of youth and Nova Scotians is being supported?
Yeah. Well, currently, people I know have you can be in a mental health crisis and have to wait 6 months for care, and that's not how mental health works. If your appendix is ruptured, you can't wait 6 months, and it's the same in a mental health crisis. So we need to have same day or next day mental health supports, and that's a commitment that we're making. And in order for that to happen, we need more trained professionals, and we need more investments. So we're trying to move away from this. We will spend X number of dollars on this thing. We're saying we're going to achieve this level of care. So that's our objective. We want to achieve the level of care where people get same day or next day mental health care, and follow-ups on that. It's not just like, okay, de-escalate the situation now and off you go. There has to be follow-up. And yeah. So.
Okay, that's fantastic. I'd love to hear a little bit more about kind of like those new like healthcare standards that you guys think would be really helpful to that to the healthcare system here.
Yeah, so more professionals working in the field. So we need to train more people, and we need to make it appealing, because people who are working in this field are getting burnt out because they're So we need more people, and it just needs to be a more attractive field to get into. People aren't too, because I know a lot of mental health workers are overburdened. They get burnt out and they leave the
they want to leave the system.
Yeah. So, and again, it's this whole system. So what triggers a mental health emergency? It's stress. What triggers stress? Affordability. Like there's everything.
It does play together 100%. And I do find, because so kind of looking into like our students' responses in terms of like what issues they saw really at the forefront of their lives, and mental health being a big one of them. It's like, you can see that it does spring from a certain, like, maybe a little bit of housing insecurity, a little bit of financial insecurity, and that means, but we did see that a lot of it actually came from, and that kind of affordability piece kind of played into the whole work experience side of things.
Okay.
So we saw that, like in youth employment taking a very, like the hardest hitting through COVID, and then also one of the slowest to respond, as we've seen like at the start. And I can definitely see how student jobs, obviously a lot of them coming from the service industry, it's tough to get that revamped to the same point. So like out-migration from like Nova Scotia remains definitely like a concern for young people. Because a lot of us need to leave to find that work. So maybe haven't had that experience while we're here, or at the end need to head out in order to find something. And that it does make it tough, because we hear so many stories of people that want to continue living here and love it. And that's across the board, because it's such a great place to live. But it can be difficult when you can't, you maybe you don't have that experience throughout your time at university to get those jobs that you would like right off the bat that are here and secure. Or you're exiting and maybe that employment doesn't exist for you yet. So like, I was just wondering, as a province, how can we better support and kind of incentivize that student retention?
Because as a province, we bring in so many students from out.
Sure.
We have so many. I think we have more universities per capita than any other province. But we're not providing the opportunities when they finish. finish. And I think co-ops are a good way to provide opportunities to get your work placements while you're studying. But at the end of the day, to create more opportunities in the province, we need to have more economic activity, and that means investing in our communities. It means jobs. It means so we want more mental health care workers. So that's something that people can stay here and do if those opportunities are there and if it's worthwhile.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just think of anything that you might study at St. X. We need to have the kind of community that has these opportunities.
Exactly.
And that means bringing in population, and it means investing.
A couple of things that you brought up that I'd love to touch a bit more on that I think could really, really help that issue is, especially when you talk about making NSCC tuition free, and you see a lot of students there going through, getting a certificate in, let's just say, criminology, or you're going through and you're just trying to specialize in a certain trade at that point. Making that experience free, and then allowing students to have that build up of funds so that they can go out there and search, or even afford to take a bit more time to figure it out. Even just that, I feel like could really bring up that retention.
For sure, and maybe the high-paying jobs out west wouldn't be as attractive if you weren't so burdened with debt. Like maybe you can take maybe a lower-paying job here. We want the jobs to be higher-paying here as well, but just if you're not saddled with debt, then you don't have to go to the one and only place where there's really a lot of money.
Exactly. You've got a bit more flexibility, a bit more breathing room at that point. Yeah, I agree. I think that's it's definitely a great idea that could really touch into that. Because if you have the ability to stay here after, you want to. You really do want to.
Yeah. And I do really hope that applies to universities sooner than later.
For sure.
That's definitely the goal.
Yeah, I think that's like an idea that will gain weight over time. 100%, and especially depending on like who ends up, as you were saying, like controlling those stakes at the top. 100%. So just another question here. So we know that COVID-19 has like disproportionately impacted some groups over others, and further exacerbated like existing inequalities in our society. So like, we're just wondering, what kinds of policies, if any, will you and your party pursue to promote social justice and racial justice in our communities?
Yes. Well, taking an honest look at the realities of the situation, not doing more than paying lip service, like taking an honest look. And, I when I do meetings, I do a land acknowledgement, and I always make a point of saying, like, it's really problematic for me to, as this white settler, to put myself forward. I'm trying to get involved in this system that is inherently colonial, it's inherently white supremacist, and that's a struggle for me. Like, how do I contend with that? So I have to just make a commitment to try to be aware of what I'm stepping into and try to change it and try to dismantle that. So but as a party, what are we going to do? I think it comes down to listening. We have to listen to the people that understand what's happening, because we don't, so listening to people, and just really looking across the board at our healthcare services. We know that people are not accessing healthcare equitably in this province, and we need to look at what those barriers are and how we bring them down. And same with any other kind of service, mental health services, everything. We just really have to do a deep, thorough analysis and take down those barriers and ask the people that know.
100%. I think you really knocked like two super important points there. Like, one being the acknowledgement that these are systems that are inherently gonna favor some over others. And in everything that we do, being able to acknowledge that aspect of things is one step. And then secondly, the listening. Being able to listen to those that are impacted before doing anything, before saying a direction, before understanding how to write any policy. You really, I completely agree. How else would you know? How else would you be able to understand and like really build on the experiences? So I really love that answer. What would be your message to students that are showing up to the polls this summer, or like might be their first time, might, even if they're halfway across the country right now, what would your message be to these students showing up?
Thank you for showing up, because and I say this to anyone who might think about not voting, is that you're helping out the status quo by not voting. So students, by showing up, you can make change. This is how we affect change. Is like people say, what's the point of running if you're running for a party that'll never win? Or when people are thinking how they're going to vote, they're like, well, they don't have a chance, so I won't vote for them. It doesn't matter, because if you vote for a party that doesn't win, the more votes that party gets, that sends a message to the party that does win. So they need to look out for them. So and we can see it happening. Like, look at the different party platforms. The progressive conservatives are really like, we're progressive. We're not just conservative. We're progressive. Right. And a lot of the platforms are pretty similar because of the existence of the NDP.
Yeah.
Like, if we weren't here, then you might not be seeing some of these good platform pieces in the other parties' platforms.
So even if it's not for the person that you think has the best infrastructure ability to win,
right?
It's about moving that needle.
Moving the needle, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And great message. Definitely gonna be able to get that out there.
Yeah.
And lastly, and here we go. What is your go-to pizza place in Antigonish County?
It's I don't know if it's still called Rolling Brick. The wood-fired pizza.
Never tried it.
Okay, his name's Brendan Hines. He's got a wood-fired pizza thing. He used to set up in the old Legion, but now he's out. If you go at Hawthorne Street towards Maryvale, North Grant Way, there's a place called Cabana Burger, and that's where he's set up.
Cabana Burger.
Yeah, and it's the best pizza there is.
Okay, I'm trying it.
I'm supposed to say the wheel. I know I like the wheel. I like the wheel a lot. But if I'm gonna travel for pizza, that's where I'm going.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, I'm definitely gonna need to give her a go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. That brings us to the end of all of our pre-planned interview questions.
Okay.
But if there's anything that you'd like to add, Moraig, feel free.
Yeah, no, just vote.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here
Okay.
today. I know
Thank you
the
so much
students
for
are going to
having
love it.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.